Welcome back, freelancers. I'm Defeated Rescue, and we're doing another gear showcase today. We're back here in the Ranger, just checking everyone's gear out. Got a decent amount of people in here. I think I saw somebody with the N7 armor on. Maybe not. Oh well. Alright, we'll head out. Okay, doing the typical warm-up, nothing special. Okay, so back in the Ranger, and we are going to continue with the assault launchers. So we've done Ember's Lance, we've gone over Tactical Onslaught, and then we've also gone over Reoccurring Vengeance. So today we're going to go over Argo's Mace. So Argo Mace is an upgraded blast missile. It's a missile that explodes on impact, so when it hits a target, it explodes. And then it detonates an electric explosion when defeating an enemy. So I've got a couple hundred charges on this, nothing special. No god rolls here or anything like that. I've got another one, but it doesn't have anything on it either. I'm just going to stick with this one for the remainder of the video, because realistically, the only difference between these two is one gets charges back a little bit quicker, and that's it. It does 11,000 damage. It's got a recharge of 7 and then a radius of 3. So the damage is actually, I think, the most out of all the gear in here. I don't think anything technically does more than 8,000. Yeah. Yeah, so it's got the most damage out of all of the assault launcher gear components. Its recharge is 7, which is a little on the high end. Actually, it's the highest. Yeah. It's technically the highest recharge out of all the gear in here. And then its radius is 3, which is actually a little small. Typically, you'd want one of about 5 as far as the radius goes. I don't think anything else in here has a radius. Yeah, this is the only one that also has a radius, too. Essentially, and that radius would only account towards the actual explosion on impact. So enemies would really have to be grouped up for you to get the effect from it having a radius. So basically it's, and then this little icon right here, if you're not aware, it's not a detonator. It just indicates that it's impact or blast damage. So it's not actually a detonator. If you wanted that, or if you were curious if it's a detonator, it would only be up here next to the item's name. So it not being a detonator means it can't really do combos with it. So we'll see how it works out, and we'll just head straight over. Any brutes? No brutes. No compound either. Well, you just head straight in then. Oh, got some right here. We'll get that real quick and head in. Alright, here we go. This real quick, keep an eye on them. Oh, they still got me. Dang. Okay, so they spawn in, we'll kind of go over this. So this actually is very similar to Reoccurring Vengeance, where it's basically a blast missile. It's just a missile you shoot and it goes towards target. Only thing is, Reoccurring Vengeance has like a tracking to it, almost like aim assist. With this one, it does not. It's just a missile, you point and then you shoot. It goes wherever you point. There's no trajectory it's trying to follow. It's not weaving around, trying to get around to the target. It just goes straight. Not a special thing about it other than that. So especially the masterwork perk on it is that when it hits the target, it explodes on impact and causes an electric explosion. So basically, essentially, because we know that electric weakens shields, you would think that when this hits a target, it would take down the shield, but that's not exactly how it works. And I'll kind of showcase that out. So GM1, and then you can kind of see the electric coming off of them, so it happens when they get defeated. And then you see electric explosion. So like you saw it there when he hit him, and you see there's not really electric coming off here. It's a little hard to see, but you can kind of see like the aura around this area when it happens. It's got, so even though it doesn't have it in the description, it does have, there's like aim assist in the game. So it does exist because this one is not supposed to be going for targets. But, I mean, I'm kind of like offset from them, and it'll still hit them. So there is inherently aim assist in the game. Not a lot, though. Okay. Here we go. So I'm going to try and shoot off to the side from them. And because it didn't even actually technically hit them, it hit right here, and they were clearly standing, like, right there. Oh, right there. So I shot there, they were there, and it still blew them up. So there's definitely got some kind of aim assist on it. And you see, like, my reticle's not even on them and hitting them. Yeah, it's curving, so it does share similarities with Reoccurring Vengeance. And because it does so much damage here in GM1, it's actually just like, I'm just cleaning the floor with them. And then if you fire into a group, and like I said, if they're close enough, it hits all of them. Well, you see how, like, if it would have been a 5 radius, it probably would have hit them, but because it's not that close, it did miss. It's doing a lot of good damage against armored enemies, non-armored enemies. Takes down shields as well pretty easily. Alright, let's see if we can take out one of these storms. So it took down both their shields, and then it killed the other one after a second hit. So it took down all their shield and a good chunk of their armor. Yep. Well, we'll see what we do against the Lancer. Okay, so it just took down all their shield. It took a little bit of health, but not much. And then right there, it took quite a bit of health. So, pretty powerful in GM1. Not too bad at all. I didn't even have to show you what I'm kind of like putting it up with, but it doesn't matter anyhow. So we'll go ahead and exit out of this, go into GM3, and see if there's any big difference there between GM1 and GM3, which there will be. So, kind of like what I was saying earlier, is I've tested this build out a few different times, and it's not just specifically this build. I've just been trying to get some things together that would make this build. Oh, they got me again! To make this build kind of like put everything into the blast, or sorry, not the blast missile. Let's go to the forge. Into Argo's Mace to kind of almost force it to be really powerful. I'm going to tell you right now, I've tested this out quite a bit, and it's not very powerful in GM3. But we'll go down and I'll kind of showcase it. Alright, so we were pretty much one-shotting these guys last time. So it does pretty good damage because it's got a lot of damage on it, right? It's got like 11,000 naturally on it. So it takes about 3 to take them out. So dealing with one-on-one grunts, not too bad. And the problem is, even though I've got 3 charges, I'm running out of charges quicker than I can kill them. With just this, just to be clear. I want to make sure no one's confused. Like, I'm not trying to showcase the build, I'm showcasing the gear itself. So this is what's cool about it, though, is that when an enemy is standing next to a shielded enemy, if you're able to kind of defeat them with Argo's Mace, when they're next to the shielded enemy, if it causes it to get that electric explosion on defeat, or when you take them out, that electric explosion, if they're within the 3-meter radius, which is very tight, will take down their shield because it's an electric effect. And as we know from testing with all the different javelins, electric effect is very powerful towards shields. Not overall powerful on its own, electric, but it's still powerful against shields. Here's where you're going to have a problem. Typically, you're not going to see that kind of thing happening a lot. Inherently, there's not a lot of enemies that have like shields, and they usually don't bunch up that close together. That's kind of a rare occurrence. But on its own, damage-wise, it's not too bad. Now my concern would be is if you had one that had a lot of damage. Obviously, if you're going to put if you're going to get one or use one that's got a lot of rolls and damage, it's not going to have hardly any gear charges on it. Which means you're going to have to build a playstyle around that specifically. So as you can see, the electric effect happened to the outlaw that was staying right next to the one I defeated. It didn't. The actual explosion itself doesn't do much to their health. But when they're staying really, really close together, it's very useful. But as you can see, like that happens from time to time. And then if they have shields, you don't want to stop applying damage to them, because if you do, they're going to recharge your shields. Just like I'm about to do here in a second. So what my thoughts are is you would hit them with something that would kind of take away their health and kind of like make them weaker, like a fire. You shoot them that way, and then that way, when you hit them with it, only utilizing one charge, it would put them down pretty easily, and it would knock out or create that electric explosion. Almost treating it like a detonator. It's not actually detonating a combo, so it's not going to do the same kind of damage, but it's still being utilized. I guess you could say I'm getting that Argo Mace value. I'm out of charges already. So it takes about 3 to take down just the outlaws themselves in GB3, which isn't very efficient. So just to clarify the reason, I kind of am trying to combo it with the fire grenade. Is fire on its own, as we know, kind of talked about in other videos. It does additional damage to enemies, so that way it would weaken them, like cause a fire effect on them, which would essentially weaken them. But basically, because they have less of a resist, you'd use Argo's Mace to kind of finish them off and get that electric explosion to pop off. Here's the thing: is it's really hard to get that electric explosion to pop off, though. Even using the Inferno Grenade to do it is still difficult. And you could pack you could try and like waste your coin on trying to get like a really, really powerful one with a lot of gear damage on it. But then the trade-off for that is charges. Now you could be really, really lucky and get one that has like max roll and damage in one of the rolls, and then one that has like an additional charge or two. But that's gonna be like straight RNG. There's no guarantee that every single person is gonna get one of those unless they just put tons and tons and tons of time into it. which isn't really very efficient. So, like, with that guy even below, with that outlaw right below a storm that has a shield, even when it was defeated and that electric explosion got off, it was still technically too far away to have the electric effect applied to it. And now, instead of taking their whole shield down right away and taking some health, it's taking a lot less damage against these storm javelins. It takes about 2 at least to get their shield down. And it's like I run out of it every time. Granted, that's not necessarily how the game's supposed to be played. You're not supposed to just use one weapon or one gear piece component against enemies in this game. That would just be nonsensical. But as far as showcasing it, like, you could potentially, with other things in this game, just run around with them. So as you can see, like, I'm flying through the air, just shooting off randomly, and it does aim towards the enemy. So there is aim assist in it, just not to the same level as recurring vengeance. So it took 3 to get their shield down, which are all the charges I have. I could probably have like 1 more if I had really good rolls, but that's just kind of the rolls you get dealt. And you potentially could have less. So that took more than like 6 to put down that storm. Alright, let's see what it does against the ranger. So that's about 1/3 of their shield. Oh, sorry, yeah. So pretty much takes 4 to take down their shield. And then health-wise, for their against their armor, it's doing 30 to 40 damage. Just taking forever to come back. I'm pretty consistently seeing 31,000 damage. Granted, that's going to be based on your build and kind of what components you're running. Now their shield's already up. Let's go ahead and take it down real quick. Sort of quick. Oh man. So there's 47. It seems like if you're hitting what would be a weak point for them, so basically their head, you can get 47, but that's there's no way to guarantee that accuracy. I'm not even pointing at their head and I'm like getting inconsistent numbers, unfortunately. I don't know if that's just from Argo's Mace and how it inherently works, or what exactly is causing it. You see in there I got like 50 something, so I don't know if being close has something to do with it, but you can see when I defeated him it had an electric explosion. So this is going to be a pretty quick video. I really didn't have to pair with anything. I could just kind of keep letting it off, but it would run out, and then I pretty much had to go retreat to cover, wait for it to recharge, which is a pretty decent recharge build, so I get it back pretty quickly, just so I can continuously showcasing it, so we're not just staying here just like waiting, like, yep, waiting for it to come back. I'm not going to step out of cover until then. I like to let you guys see the whole video, so like I'm not like editing things in, so you know for sure like I came in with what I had. Nothing's changed. I'm not really a big fan of like cutting down all this stuff to make it a very short video, just so you can be like, oh, okay, they went from GM1 doing a ton of damage, and then potentially I put consumables on, and then I'm here in GM3 just doing the exact kind of like work. So I want to make sure you guys are seeing like how effective these things can be. So we'll start checking the boxes on this one. Is it efficient? Well, no, it's not. It's probably one of the most inefficient things in the game, because it's basically a blast missile that does a little bit more damage. So we'll just take a look at the numbers real quick. So Argo's Mace does about 11,000, a little bit more than 11,000. So, and then Reoccurring Vengeance does about 65, right? So it does almost double the damage. But here's the thing that's different is when Reoccurring Vengeance detonates a combo. So when it detonates a combo, it grants gives you a whole new charge. All you have to do is detonate a combo. Not very hard in Anthem to detonate combos. Pretty easy. So that way, all you have to really worry about is getting really good gear damage. That's all you have to really be concerned with. It's not bad to have an extra charge, like I said on mine. That's what I've got. I've got an extra charge on it because I like I like just having the freedom to kind of like whip it around, and if I miss, it's not too punishing. Where with Argo's Mace, it doesn't have any extra charges. It sort of does double damage, so you could mathematically go, okay, well, it pretty much is like 2 on its own. Well, not really. Here's the thing. The Ranger is probably the best javelin for detonating combos, especially single point. I think they benefit from combos more than any javelin. Now, that depends on builds and roles and a lot of different things, which are what more advanced players who are trying to get like big numbers. Those kinds of things are kind of realistically where they're going to determine that. But for a newer player or someone just coming back and hasn't been back since like some of the changes, who kind of want to understand what's going on, combos is where it's at. If you're not doing combos, you are not getting efficient numbers out of your javelin or out of your build at all. There's like a multiplier on combos. So if you can do a combo with this, you can do anywhere. Just on like this build alone, we were doing 230,000 damage on just detonating a combo, which was basically just using this. Like I'd freeze them with whatever, with an LMG if I had focus on, freeze focus as the component, or if I threw Arctic Tomb out. I'd freeze the enemy, doesn't do any damage to them, and then I hit them with this, and I'm doing 230,000 damage, approximately. Where with Argo's Mace, the only numbers we were seeing come out of it, the best numbers I think I saw out of it was approximately 50,000. So there's like almost a 200,000 damage difference there. And I was hitting them after like setting them on fire with the Infernal Grenade. Let me see. The Explosive Blaze Grenade. So this grenade will set them on fire, which means they will be weakened because they're on fire effect now, so they're primed with fire. So essentially, they already should be weaker, so their resistance is lower. When you hit them with this, it should do higher numbers because they have lower resistance. But that's not exactly how it works. In theory, the way it should work is when they're in a small knit group and there's a bunch of them with shields. If you can defeat one of them that doesn't have a shield up with this, there would be an electric explosion that would come off, and when the explosion comes off, it will be so powerful that it will get rid of their shield. The problem is that's a very... There's not a lot of opportunities for that specific thing to happen. It's very rare that they were just kind of standing there together in a group, and it was even rarer that this would actually just defeat one of them, because I had to use 3 with just this one. So it's not efficient, and it's got one of the most punishing recharges out of all the gear. I think Reoccurring Vengeance is 5 actually. No, Reoccurring Vengeance is 7, but its masterwork perk is it'll get another one if it detonates a combo. Just needs to detonate a combo. Extremely easy to do. So yeah, even though this has blast damage and impact and blast damage on it, I mean, technically so does Reoccurring Vengeance. It just does less damage. So, and then that's the thing too, is like this one inherently has a combo effect. Its combo effect is impact, which the Ranger does impact damage very well. This one doesn't have anything. It just explodes on impact. There's no combo effect to it. There's no... The only thing you're getting out of this is if you defeat an enemy, it'll have an electric explosion within that 3-meter radius. Like, it doesn't really come that far out. If it is coming out 5, it's barely coming out 5 meters, because there was a storm right above one of the outlaws, like right above them. Not even very high, like literally right above them, and it didn't do anything to their shield. So Yeah, I would say that that is not at all efficient. There's going to be a lot of better options in there. Recurring Vengeance, for one, is definitely better. Is it viable? Well, when it comes to viability for builds, like I was kind of talking about earlier, combos are where it's at. Like, you want to throw a combo, prime the enemy types, and then hit them with this. So essentially, you would think this would be good for taking down shields, which on its own it's really not. It doesn't do that much damage, especially against like higher resistant enemies or legendary enemies or javelin type enemies. It's really not going to do much against armor enemies either, and it's definitely not going to do anything good against bosses like the Monitor or the Undying, or any of the stronghold bosses. It's just going to do a little tick damage every time you hit them. That's it. I would almost say that, and the thing is like there's a component for this where you can put it on where it adds 30% gear damage to your assault launcher system. See, I think I got it on too. Yeah, Badge of Devastation increases assault launcher damage by 30%. I already have that on, and with the numbers we were seeing, it really wasn't all that impressive. So I don't think it's viable in a build. I don't know what kind of build you can use this with. I'm sure there's someone out there who's made a build with it and tested the living hex out of it. It just, it's not going to be very viable. I don't know what to combo it with. I don't know what to use to make it do anything better. Like if when it hit the target, if the Metalwork perk worked differently. So if the Metalwork perk worked as when it hit a target, it created an electric explosion. That would more than likely take down the target's shield. Now if their shield's down, you would prime them with whatever, and then you could come in with whatever detonator and then detonate them. That to me would make a lot more sense. But the way it works now, I don't think it works very well. I don't think it works very well at all. I think this was intended for earlier versions of the game. And when I say earlier versions, I don't mean like hard or normal or easy or GM1. I mean like earlier iterations, earlier patches of the game when like brutes had shields and like killing an enemy, and there were probably a lot of enemies around them with shields, was a priority. So it might have been then very useful, but I mean, I was showcasing it pretty well, and it was taking down enemies pretty well. I didn't have a lot of issues with it, but I really wasn't getting very good numbers either. And because I'm not comboing, I'm not going to get my ult charge up very quickly either. So if I got an ult build, this is really not going to help me out at all. So yeah, so the first two boxes I don't check off. And then the other thing is it fun? Well, I think you can kind of tell from the rant I've been going on, I don't find this fun at all. Like, it kind of works backwards. I think it should be, the Masterwork perk should be, when it hits a target, it creates an electric explosion. Or it needs to prime. Or not prime, or it could prime or detonate. It needs to do something towards the combo system, because that's the way of Anthem. There are definitely builds out there, especially for interceptors, that don't use detonators, that are really good. But running in with something that doesn't detonate or doesn't prime and doesn't have a component or something to help it detonate or prime really, really makes it very weak, even though it's probably putting out the best numbers in that specific gear slot. It doesn't actually mean it's the best. So I don't think it's fun. So this is probably like the first weapon or gear piece that I've kind of looked at that I'm not going to recommend for anything. And the ironic thing is, it's in the store right now. So if you want to spend 2,000 coin to buy a level 80 legendary Argo's Mace, you could. I would not recommend it. I would not waste a penny on these. If it comes in a Lego drop or when you pick it up in a stronghold or something, hold on to it, play around with it, see if maybe you get better rolls than I do and you can really make a good build out of it. I'm really interested. If you can, share it. Let me see it. Because then I'll be out there grinding my butt off to get one too. But I've had a few of these in my inventory. I got rid of one other one that just wasn't doing it for me. To me, it's not any fun. There's not a lot to it. It's kind of bland. You know, it's just, you just shoot it and it goes, and it does a little bit of damage. A lot of damage on its own, but not enough damage to justify it anywhere above GM1. And even in GM1, I don't even think it's going to be that fun. So, oh well. Your mileage may vary. Anyways, Undefeated Rescue. Hope to see you guys out in Bastion.